My favorite parts of the day are dawn and dusk. That transition, it just carries so much weight, and neither one is more important than the other. I really love just how equal they are, but how vital they both are. It's almost like, too, you don't even realize how dark the city might be until the light comes. You can see the colors again, you can see the trees. Everything looks fresh and new. It also allows for stability. Sometimes you need something stable, something consistent, something you can count on. Those transition as well. So it goes from the backpack style to when you pull it through, it becomes like a small bucket bag. Yeah. Did you get that here?
No.
That's so fun.
Like I said,
It's lovely though.
but it's leather. And
Yeah.
it's just kind of cool, but
Yeah.
your work is a sample.
Thank you very much.
Stunning.
Thank you. You ladies had a good day? You've been here since...
Oh, schleppers are today.
They're walking like, you know, they're...
You're like, I have places to go. I have things to do. How are you ladies doing?
Are you doing them all yourself?
Yes.
They're great.
Thank you.
Your work is outrageous.
Thank you.
Could I have a card?
Absolutely. Just can't
Either
leave.
black or white.
Totally. You sign here. Did you get my card? I really desire connection with people, and being able to create things has created a medium for me to build relationships with people. I think that's the beauty of art, too, is it's disruptive in its own. It makes you pause, it makes you think, it challenges you, it gives you a new perspective, but it also draws out things that normal conversation maybe necessarily wouldn't. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What are you thinking? So even the creative process, whether it's creating a product with someone or creating it for someone, is a way of connecting.
Accessories is an extremely competitive lane in fashion. And you could spend a lot of money on pieces that don't have any soul. And so for Shelly, her work is, there's soul in it.
We always meet people who are trying to do good for the community, but we don't always see people who use their personal heartbreak and experiences to better their craft and to reach out and uplift other people. And it's extremely heartbreaking when you meet somebody who's gone through such an experience. Anytime I talk to people who attended our shows or I see them, that's who they talk about. They talk about Shelly because that sticks with them.
Even if she were doing something completely different that wasn't in the fashion industry, she would probably still be doing that work with Wings and still be doing something to honor her sister. It's fundamental to who she is. It's authentic to her, but it's also a breath of fresh air in an industry that, you know, almost seems to kind of go out of its way to see how little they can actually do, you know, for people.
I get asked why bags quite often, and I have not figured out the answer other than they're a fascinating puzzle to me. I don't really like bags myself. I don't like to carry them, but I'm obsessed with seeing them on people. Truly elegant things to me are very simplistic in nature, but what I've found in designing is that minimal takes the most thought the most time to engineer to really strip back the details, but still give something a lot of purpose. And so I feel like in order to really show detail, everything else needs to sort of be wiped clean. So it's like honing in on making sure that I'm highlighting exactly what I want you to see.
There's a lot you have to know in order to strip it all away and put yourself into it. And so for Shelly, when I look at her bags and even her own personal style, I think of, sort of the 90s minimalism, sort of Helmut Lang, and Jill Sander, Cissa Rodriguez, where you're not trying to decorate the woman. They're making clothes for women that were very modern, making clothes for women that, the women had real lives. People don't want to necessarily always be carrying the most expensive bag or the most flashy bag, but they also want things that have some intelligence, where you can see sort of a real thought process behind it.
I see function as fashion. There is no start or end to one or the other. Because of what fashion is, it is a function. For instance, with the Emit design, how the desire was to have pockets and compartments without it looking like there was a lot of pockets and compartments. And that moment of surprise when they open it and they're like, there's 4 slots in here, but you close and it's just like one nice, clean, simple shape. Like that's the functionality I'm going for, that moment of surprise when it starts from something really clean and beautiful to, wow, I can use this in so many ways. So when you see the Ray backpack, to me, the fun challenge was how do I make something secure without any of the fuss? It looks like a basic rectangular shape, but this flap that looks really minimal, looks like it's just hanging there. When you lift it up, it's actually hiding this intensely secure function of the bag itself. So when I would have it on display at shows and customers would just kind of look at it like, oh yeah, that's clean, that's pretty. And then you just lift up the flap, they're like, oh, you've brought a solution to a consistent problem that the customers had while still maintaining integrity as a designer, to me is one of the biggest challenges. Why don't I take what your need is and find a beautiful solution? Not just a functional one, but a beautiful and an interesting solution where you want to have it and it's secure.
So this is the oldie. It's functional as hell, but it's ugly.
Yeah. Now, do you want it to be as big, or do you want it, for size-wise? Is that really important to you? Or is it a couple things need to fit specifically?
I like my lint roller holster.
That's doable, though.
It's totally a water bottle holder, which is even more 90s dad.
Oh my God, it has a little pocket. Where do you wear this most? Is it on your hips or is it on your waist? Or do you have it go between?
What separates her from other artists is the way she sees things. She's extremely bright, and there's a real curiosity and compassion just for life and for people. I can see that in her work. It has a meaning to it to me that you don't really see in a lot of high-end fashion.
I definitely don't want you to feel like I'm can you make this 90s fanny pack?
No, not at all. No, but it's good to see just how it functions, what's working and what's not.
It's a hard business to be in. You can really see the knowledge and expertise of what Shelly knows about her material. I feel like people don't really listen. People don't really listen anymore. And I just felt like she really respected what the bag meant to me and then went out of her way to, make it perfect. And that just doesn't happen. And so that's why I was and continue to be very touched by it.
My very closest friend, Renee, loved what I was doing with the bags. And so her and I were sort of scheming all throughout high school of one day having a brand together, one day living in New York together, but she had to go to a different college. And so it was just sort of okay, we'll part our ways for college, but then even through college, we'd be scheming, talking about how we wanted to build a business, where we would go. But my sophomore year of college, she was actually coming up to visit me one weekend. And she was like, I have this new idea, I have to show you, da-da-da. I sketched some things out. And that weekend, she actually got in a very bad car accident, and she passed away. She was one of the first friends that I had that I felt understood. Like, she knew all my stuff, she knew me, she got it. And we had things so planned out of what it was gonna look like for the next few years that losing her in that way, not only losing my best friend, but losing this person that I was planning on building something with, was just this place of like what now? You know, like now I'm alone. It was no longer a mutual vision. It was like, well, now it's just about me. Now it's just about my vision and where I see this going. As an introvert, one of my struggles is putting my thoughts and feelings into words. And I've always had a fear of being misunderstood. So doing something creatively allows just the complexity of what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking to actually manifest without having to use words. It's a really liberating feeling. It's almost like I can step back from something that I've created or made and feel like I've finally expressed it, like it's finally out. So after losing her, when it came to sewing bags specifically, it really became about me communicating. And fabric took me to a certain place where it was like, yeah, I'm still getting it out, I'm still communicating it, but it's just not quite what I'm trying to say. And leather was like, oh, shit. Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
Good to see you.
Come on in.
Sure.
Always glad when you can come.
Always.
Got some black.
So I discovered leather when I went to the fabric warehouse on the south side, but was kind of poking around in some of the back corners and found some pelts of leather, and I was like, what is this? It just felt fun. It felt new, but was just excited because I had never worked with anything quite like that, and I knew it was going to hold differently, it was going to drape differently, and was just excited at the possibilities. It's kind of like walking into Horween now, and I see all of the colors and all of the leather, and it's like...
So I think I showed you this before. So this is our natural, and it's an undyed. It's very popular because when it oxidizes, it turns this beautiful tan color, so it gets richer and richer.
Okay, but this one's not the... Is this vegetable tan?
This is 100%.
So you're learning a language, and then you get a dictionary, and now you can like really find the words. That's kind of what leather was for me, because I knew I loved handbags, but finding leather like really helped translate what was going on in me. Like, this is gonna take me to that place where I can actually express what I'm wanting to. I'm not there yet, and I still need to work on it and figure it out, but like it's getting closer for me to be able to properly articulate what it is that I'm wanting to say in my artwork. Leather was the right language. It was the right language.
We got to get the one that sings to you.
Yes. I mean, they're all singing pretty well, but...
Let me show you one more thing.
Oh, God.
Before we do
Let me
this.
give you one more option.
Let me give you
All
another
right.
option. And I just saw this morning. This is actually for a customer.
Oh, my God.
But it's very raw. It's really gorgeous.
That is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. Right?
The options. Leather makes me feel inspired, because walking into Horween, it's like so many things I could do with all of this. It sparks a lot of ideas. Oh my God. Leather can feel sheen and malleable, can feel shiny and new, it can feel worn and distressed. There can be a real softness to it. Angles of it can be really, really firm. To me, it has a feel of like endless possibilities. Leather feels like, it's almost like a comfort. I truly have like this relationship with it. I'm friends with leather. I never thought of it that way. Leather's a good friend. Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate it. Next time. All right, have a good one.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm 3 of 4 children. I remember growing up, we were very much group and community oriented, and my family was really plugged in with a church. So very close family ties, close with my siblings. very tight-knit relationships. I used to make everything out of cardboard all the time. And so it sort of became this running joke, like, what did Shelly make this week out of cardboard? Okay, we have a guitar, so we'd play guitars and make home videos. And I remember my mom at one point having to have a talk with me about throwing some away.
I would have to sneak it out of her closet. I would let her have it, but then I would sneak pieces out and pitch it. Shelly was always creative. She was always making something.
So this is my very first bag I ever made. Found this in storage a few months back, buried under quite a few old school CHC. So CHC started when I had seen my older sister, Megan. She had had an advanced home ec class and she came home with a messenger bag that she had made. It just like clicked something in me of like, she made her own bag. Like, that's so cool. And so I remember asking her, you know, will you show me how to make the bag? And just as an older sister was like, no, you know, figure it out yourself. I don't think she meant it in a mean way. It was just being an older sister. So I was like, fine. And so I had my mom take me to the fabric store and I bought denim and some cotton, and I figured it out. I had no idea what I was doing, clearly. It's quite evident. I mean, there's like holes and stains, but even when you look at like the stitch lines, how bad they are, why I use contrast stitching, I don't know. This clearly wasn't finished and turned in enough. These corners were a mismeasurement because these should be lining without a pucker. The flap is even off, I mean, by like 2 millimeters, but it bothers me. Even the strap isn't quite aligned appropriately. All kinds of character. And then wearing that to high school, people started, oh, you know, where did you get that? Where's that from? And from that was where I started to make bags for other people. I actually came up with the Shelly Harms collection, CHC, probably within the first 2 months. So CHC has been there from the beginning. And I would stay up all night, it just didn't matter. It was just something I loved doing. It was probably within that first year that I realized, like, this is something I actually want to do. When my friend Renee passed away, leather really helped bring to life what was going on inside of me. But that was also, it's sort of a bittersweet phase of my life because not long after that is when I met Dave. My best friend Renee, he grew up with, so they were very much like siblings. They'd known each other ever since they were children. The week that I went back to Peoria for the funeral, that's when I officially met Dave.
The week of Renee's funeral, we spent a lot of time together, but there was no thoughts of anything more than a friendship.
Just a couple months later, it was Valentine's Day, and I had sent a big group text to just a bunch of people on my phone. It was like, Happy V-Day. And I'm not sure if he just thought it was just to him or what.
I was unaware that it went to a lot of people. And I happened to be coming to town that following weekend. I said, let's get dinner and hang out and talk about Renee. And fast forward a few more weeks, and we started dating. We just had a really wonderful time together. We laughed and we cried and well, we bonded and fell in love.
There's never been a question to him that this is what I was going to do, and he was fully behind it. And there have been plenty of moments where I've questioned whether or not I was behind my own dreams, that he's like, well, of course, like, this is what you're doing. Like, get up and go do. My processing and healing, without question, would not be where it is without who he is.
So Shell and I were engaged, and Shell had finally, I don't want to say had gotten over Renee. There's never a getting over the loss of someone, but she had turned the page of understanding what it meant to have lost Renee and to feel the void of Renee and to be okay with the void of Renee. And then Megan was killed.
I got a call on October 13th, early in the morning. My phone said Minnesota cabin, which meant that my dad was calling me because him and my mom had taken the weekend up in Minneapolis. And I was like, why is my dad calling me at 8 o'clock in the morning? The phone call actually woke me up, so it was one of those states where you're like, wasn't sure if I was actually awake when he called. And he very basically said, your mom and I are okay, but we just received a call from the police that there was a break-in at Megan and Brian's home, and Megan was found dead, and Brian was taken into custody because he was the only one present in the home. After I hung up the phone, it was just sort of, it hadn't even fully hit. Like, it kind of hit, but it was also like the half asleep, half awake, like, wait, did this call just happen? And I remember looking back in my calls of like, okay, it did just happen. Like, this wasn't just like a freakish dream. And so when we got home, it was just sort of like this, like, breakdown moment of like mourning, but also like, what the hell is going on? My older sister, Megan, she was a charge nurse in Nashville, Tennessee, and she had a very caring, nurse-like heart. Her desire was to care for people. That's very much how she was as an older sister. Do you know how there's like certain people in your life that are like your cheerleaders? She was a cheerleader to who I was. And even with CHC, even with my relationship with Dave, like, she was a cheerleader in my life. Very tender heart. Okay, so going back to, again, when you post, so what am I looking at? Okay. Like, will forever be supported by my family. There's no question in my mind. I'm very loved by my family. But she was the glue of the siblings, the leader of the siblings. And you can feel that that's gone now. My dad equated it one time to almost feeling like a body that's had an arm removed. Like, you still move on with life and you learn how to function with just the one arm, but you always know that it's not present. And that's kind of what it feels like, having her no longer here. So papillon means butterfly in French. This is inside the front entry of the storefront in Haiti. Papillon is a community of artisans working to produce a beautiful selection of products for Trades of Hope. When I went on the trip to Haiti this spring with Trades of Hope, it was right around the time of my oldest daughter's would have been birthday. We lost Megan over a decade ago, and she's a vital part of this new season for me. So then, if you're okay with me mentioning that she used to call them flutterbys, you make me cry. Wasn't trying to make you sad. Didn't think I would. Go ahead. Are you okay with me sharing that? Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna say something like, butterflies were collected by my mom, but my oldest daughter, Megan, always called them flutterbys. So to see this was just very special. I think it's powerful for people to know. Yeah? Is there anything else you want in there? No? Thank you. You're welcome. You did great.
I think you did great.
No, you did great. Love you. We'll breathe. Can I hear it again?
Yeah, of course.
Like a little bit before it, just to hear the same
I'll give
thing.
you a whole section.
like that.
No, that's good.
Feels more special.
Way more special.
Yeah.
And I think actually it coming in later and it not being at the onset of the song will work better for adding it to videos as well.
I like that, yeah.
So the thing that's completely different than this that I wanted to show you.
Oh, is this the new thing?
This is the new thing. All new instrumentation, all new sounds.
Okay.
I just think it's imperfect. Simple. Perfect. I just think it's simple. Perfect.
Oh my God. I really dig that. I actually really like that you use a male voice with the high pitch of the piano. I think that's why I'm so drawn to it.
Right.
There's a balancing act with it, and I feel like that's so reminiscent of the product, you know?
Yeah, to me, doing something that has a lot more repeating and is a lot more minimal like that is more CHC, which is why I was excited to show you.
Yep. It's so interesting to be on the opposite side of like having something custom made, because typically, like I'm always doing the custom stuff that I'm like, this process is so easy, just tell me what you want. And being on this side where I don't know the language, I've never made it, I'm like, I wish I had the words.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
All of a sudden there's this little... I'm really inspired by the ability to just take risk and to try new things. And that creative collaboration of people who are willing to take those risks with you, because sometimes it ends up being like magic. So all I want this whole session to be about is giving voice to what we think we could make these videos about.
This is just like, I don't know if this... Like... It's very collaborative. I mean, it's... Working with Shelly is really working with her, not working for her, because she really brings a lot of who you are into the work that she does, too.
Oh, so something I get asked a lot in the Midwest, like all of the time, is fashion rules. Like people are like, does my belt have to match my, it's so ridiculous to me. I didn't know people paid attention to the rules. But do you, like from the circles that you guys are in, is that something you feel like would be of value to address?
If someone were to be like, I have a question about the rule. It's not easy running a small business, especially on your own. And Shelly is everything that CHC is, but we have different photographers come in, different makeup artists come in, different musicians, and it's constantly changing, but it's never losing its values. CHC is her everything, and she puts her heart and soul into it, but it's set with other people in mind as well.
All right, high five, get some nerves out. Yeah, we got this. Before she hops in, I just want to take a moment and thank you guys for making the time to come, so I really appreciate all of you guys being here. Get after it, Lou.
Okay. I would like to thank you too. It means a lot to me. I feel like my relationship with Shelly, well, for one, it's very important to me. And we've gotten closer as I've been apprenticing more. And she was such a great teacher with it. And then the square backpack.
Your favorite.
This
took a little while.
It took quite a few tries.
Do you mind me asking how old you are? 12. Oh my God. When I came here, she reframed everything I ever thought about what a boss should be, what like a mentor should be. She's taught me to be more sure of myself. But I think she's also shown me how it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be someone out of Devil Wears Prada to be in this industry. And it's rubbed off on me not to lose the values that I have now just to get further. She's literally helped me grow up so much in the past 2 years. I don't know where I'd be if it weren't for her. She's changed my life.
Thanks for being amazing. So it starts with an idea. Sometimes I'll have a week where I saw the way that a highway intersected with like a piece of land, and it sparks something that makes me think of a bag in some way. Sometimes I dream about a design. I'll have had a bag, or there was a bag to some capacity in the dream, or sometimes it's even a feature about a bag. It may not even be the full bag, but just the way that a pocket was set in a way that I've never seen before, that I'll wake up and be like, what the heck was that? But I'll write it down and kind of play with the idea. If it's in my head and it needs to get out, it needs to get out. The Aura sling, the top feature with the strap, comes from the front piece on through the back to make it cinch. Came from like a really flash thing in a dream. I just remember seeing the motion of something cinching and just being fascinated by the thought of like, what would that actually look like? And then from brainstorming into the actual engineering, and then getting excited of going, yeah, that's gonna work, or discovering new techniques along the way. It's very much a playful process for me that ends up being incredibly technical. And then it goes into the first leather piece, and that's when it becomes glorious. It just sort of feeds my being. I feel the most myself when I'm in that space. If it feels awkward, maybe just have your hand like right here. Yeah, perfect. Hand down a little bit. Yep. Keep that pose. Just don't look that way. Look like this way.
Sorry.
No laughing.
We don't smile here.
It's nice. CHC would look completely different if the whole purpose was to create just a great product that's gonna sell a lot versus creating something that's an expression of me as an artist. And I think that's why it becomes so personal, because when you get a CHC bag, you're getting a part of me in 3D form to take with you and to carry throughout your life. No pressure. Each new collection has been a more and more clear voice of what CHC is, or what the expression coming out of me as an artist is. So I see that being an ongoing, ever-growing, ever-honing voice. Getting not necessarily maybe louder and louder in volume, but more and more clear as to what that voice is. I don't have any problem with you walking in with it up here. Okay. Just walk in, switch arms, maybe open it, close it, and then walk out. Still keeping your body kind of angled towards the camera.
All right, go ahead.
I don't want it to be something that becomes making product just so that it sells. I want it to be how an artist is interpreting handbags. It was a 3-year waiting period from when Megan was killed to when her trial finally happened. In that waiting period, it was almost like our life was on pause. We had the desire to kind of stay close to family and not really knowing when the trial was or what all was going on with it. All that we knew was there was a break-in and she was found dead and he was in custody. And I was like, what does that mean? You know, so many questions. And we didn't really get too much solid word about how sure they were that they thought that it was something with Brian. So when the trial came, there was still this piece of hope that maybe it wasn't him. Because he was my brother. It wasn't a thing that you see and you're like, oh, I could see that coming. Like, it wasn't that at all. So I had chosen to just wait until the trial to like really process everything. But the trial took away any hope I had of him being innocent. Her death was what they call a multi-modality death, which means that 3 things were done to her, and any one of those 3 on its own without the other 2 could have killed her. They weren't even entirely sure the series of which things happened, but the way in which she was killed was very personal and without any reason. There still has been no reason given. There was a lot of anger that I started to see and witness in my own life that felt like it came out of nowhere. Not an angry person, almost like lashing out. And I think a lot of that was anger at him just manifesting itself in my day-to-day life, but like deep anger over things that just didn't make sense to be angry at. I feared Dave for a little while. I feared myself, because if not having an answer to a why puts you in some really strange places of like a person's capabilities that you never thought. So if somebody that in my experience is that close to me is capable of something like this, then what am I capable of? What are you capable of? What is my husband capable of? What is my, who around me, anybody's capable of doing something so disgusting? I was having nightmares every single night. Getting to sleep I would just exhaust myself every day to hope that my body would be so tired it would just have to pass out, because the night terrors would just come like every single night, every single night, every single night. That was a really dark season of my life. Not only losing my sister and losing her life, but like losing my brother. Like, it's just a really strange, dark place to be. A loss like that is like almost an overdose of emotion and feeling. And feeling and emotion are really good for an artist because it's fuel, it gets a project going. But for me, it was like such an overdose that my creative process was put a little bit on pause. And being one who thinks in pictures and builds color and shape and whatnot in my thoughts, having that go dark is not a fun place to dwell. Some days, the thoughts and the fear-filled stuff would get so heavy that it would lead into prayer for the sake of needing rescue. There was a moment in church where we were worshiping, and it was a really awesome time of worship, and I just felt this small nudge. I had this sensing of the Lord saying, I want you to pray for Brian. And my whole being just like, I stopped worshiping, I sat down, and I was like, we're done conversing for the day. Why would you ask me to do something like that? Like, what am I supposed to pray? Like, how do you pray for a person who does something? Like, he can take care of himself, like he chose to do that. My deep fear was that in saying a prayer for him, I was saying that it was okay for him to do what he did. But forgiveness, it doesn't make what he did okay, but it's just grace is a free gift. And that took me about a year to even say one prayer over him. But that one prayer for him kind of opened something up a little bit. And then it was probably about 1.5 years, I want to say, after that I prayed further over him and released him in prayer, forgivingly. Like, released everything that I was feeling towards him, everything that I had been carrying, and just like let it go. It physically felt like a weighted cloud was like off. Like it wasn't mine anymore, It was gone. Peace entered in like right away after forgiveness, which was really incredible. It was like, I don't have nightmares anymore. Like I don't have nightmares anymore. It's unbelievable. The season of forgiveness helped sort of close a chapter of what felt like just a lot of really deep darkness. It almost felt like a rebirth of sorts in life. It was one stepping stone among many that allowed me to own who I am as a designer. That was actually right before Yeah, that was maybe a year before I went full-time with CHC. Yeah.
Her forgiving Brian, it freed her mentally, it freed her physically. Her whole being, the way she could even rest, just changed. And I think that searching and that journey gave her a lot of clarity around who she is as a designer. You can see that in her collections in the last 2 years. They are levels above where she was before. She's really hit her stride as a designer.
It's cool because it's always different. Like, it's the most faithful thing ever. There's always like a sunrise, you know, but every single morning. It's always different. It's like a new show to go watch. I think when, in going through processing, grieving the loss of Megan, there was a need for stability. There was a need for knowing it was gonna be okay. You know, when you're in the midst of something that can be so confusing and already so humanly and emotionally, physically, spiritually draining without any effort, like you need something to you need something that's faithful. Early mornings like that have always been a faithful thing. Dawn to dusk is it's that reminder of time. And I think there are seasons in life when we need to be reminded that it's a season, that we forget, I forget that this will pass, night will end, morning will come. That says something of when it is the absolute darkest, like dawn is coming. It's a reminder of hope because it happens every single day. Like, dawn is coming, dawn is coming. It has to come. Like, that's how he created it. He created seasons. It sounds cheesy, but it's so true. Like, it's truly, like, sincerely a reminder of his faithfulness. That's just how faithful he is, that he put it into things. I now have allowed myself to think about Megan in regards to celebrating the life that she lived instead of dwelling on the way that her life was taken. It's how I think about her, it's how I talk about her, not letting the whole topic of her always be negative, because she was a beautiful, incredible person, you know, and that needs to have a louder voice than just how her life was taken. So the collection Dawn Dusk was inspired by that idea. What I love about Dawn Dusk is you can go and watch a sunrise, and as time goes on, you start to see these like different colors, and there's just movement that's happening in the sky and all around you. So that thought too of going into the design is I didn't want it to just be these basics that you see, it's just another crossbody, but when you look at it from each different angle, it's a little bit different. Like, everything just starts to sort of change. And when I think about dawn and dusk, I think about not only the colors you see, but also what kind of shapes. When you look at something like the halo clutch, I love the roundedness. Obviously, that kind of alludes to a sun rising or sun setting. But what I also love about rounded edge is it brings a softness to a design instead of it being such a hard, distinct line. And I wanted the collection to have sort of a softness. That's very much how Megan was as an older sister, was while she was still the strong leader, she was incredibly loving and receptive, and yeah, she's like the mother hen, the caring one. She'll like bring you in. She'll knock you around a little bit, but she's gonna love you the whole way through it. So each bag in the collection feels like its own little celebration of who she was forever. I decided to just see what it would be like if I were, whether it was in a position that my sister might have been in, or if I was just a person in a situation of domestic violence, what would I do? Like, what resources are there? Because I just, thankfully, have never had to look into that. One of the first organizations that came up was Wings. And so I just started reading into them and eventually decided to apply to see what volunteering might be like. So I spent 4 hours a week with these, what tends to be mostly women, but not always, of just learning their stories and walking with them and hearing about their experiences. And then the other 6 days of the week, I was learning about my customers and building relationships with them. And some days it triggers thinking of my sister or thinking of things that could have been going on that nobody knew. The amount of strength that goes on in those shelters is really, really humbling to be a part of.
You guys are the same height, too.
We're the same, like,
we're the same.
She sent me her measurements, and I was like,
Everything.
what?
I'm like,
We're like the same everything.
Guess I'll bring my clothes.
Fashion is an industry that primarily caters to women, but there are not a lot of women in the sort of high-level leadership positions in this sort of business as a whole. And so to be able to sort of be doing that double duty of designing the collections and then also running the business part, that's a lot to be thinking about all the time. And so I wanted to do a photo story that featured local designers to support the local fashion industry and to kind of highlight the designers that I think that you should know about.
Oh my God. I'm gonna try not to cry. Oh my God.
I almost don't want to categorize Shelley as Chicago fashion because she, to me, is kind of like the upper echelon of people that I feel like could, move beyond Chicago and should move beyond Chicago.
Good girl. I think it depends on what you want to get out of this next phase. Do you want to learn something that you haven't learned yet? Do you want...
I could feel from Shell how discouraged she was. And something I've said over and over and over is that at the end of the day, I don't care if CHC does $10 million in revenue or $100 million of revenue. I care that Shell is fulfilled in the thing that she's doing.
This decision can't be made.
Come here, Chuck.
Outside of, like, what you want, too.
Chicago is a really hard place to, to launch collections because the resources aren't here. Resources meaning sort of people power. Seamstresses, pattern makers, fabrics and all that, it's on the coast.
Or do you want to do something that's a hybrid where you get to work and...
Stepping out in 2013 and taking the leap to do this full time was one of the scariest things I've ever done. I had no idea what I was doing, not that anybody ever does. I was not ready. From an artist standpoint, my craft was not where it needed to be, but it was just a matter of, I guess that's just how you start anything. You just have to start and just learn. I feel like in order to actually become an expert at the craft, it means staying a student of it forever. And being that I've been self-taught, I've done pretty good up to this point, but in wanting to take it to the next level, I need to be challenged and I need to learn some of the fundamentals that I would not have maybe picked up on my own. So decided to take a sabbatical. I started looking for leather schools, hopefully with the hope in mind of it being specific to leather bags. You know, if I'm being totally transparent, just wanting it all to just shh. I've felt in a lot of ways like I need this kind of a trip, and I didn't know I needed it until somebody brought it up. And then it went from excitement / need to, I just want to get out of here. I just want to get away from all these people, all of this stuff. I just want to go. And in knowing that the leaving was coming, it almost felt like I didn't run out of grace, but maybe I did. I don't know. Being able to be completely taken out of that environment and just allow my imagination to go, I think is gonna give me more creative space. And the premise of it was not only to search for clarity and to get away, but also to go and hone my craft for 3 months and go to leather school in Florence, Italy. When I tell you I have no idea what's on the other side of this trip, I have no idea. Maybe I'll get really passionate about belts, I don't know. You go from everything that you know and maneuver and control well and schedule and handle and do to now a massive question mark. And I feel like even that, the element of Megan's legacy within CHC, I don't know how, but I think even that element is gonna evolve, which I think is really cool. I feel ready. I feel ready. Grazie. Wow. So lovely. Yeah, much better. Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
I'm sure. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. People in black. What does that mean?
Hui is like a light. Light at the same time.
Yeah. Very cool.
Everyone has a copy? Okay, so this is going to be the last bag that we will be doing. The explanation here. So we have two sets of explanation, okay? So they are basically the same bag. The only difference is that
it's a much slower pace here. To be in a place that's completely different than what I'm used to is refreshing, relaxing, but also incredibly difficult.
So when I do my pattern, I need to create 7. So each side, I need to do the sewing. So it's additional 5mm, 5mm.
I needed to get completely out of it to have any type of perspective because I just couldn't see anything. So being totally out of it, untouchably out of it, has allowed me to really step back, assess, and be really truthful with myself.
Okay, that's it.
That's it?
That's it.
It's
Pretty
just much more
straightforward.
shorter.
Yeah.
Here, I feel like I get a really good assessment of where I'm at in my craft. And I feel a parallel between where I'm at with my craft and where I'm at as a person. I have so much to learn, but I'm absolutely loving the learning of it. That design. Oh my God. I have a question. I don't know if I thought this through. I'm learning to flex a muscle I've never had to flex. There's a lot of discipline and there's a lot of practices to put in place. And in doing so, it's inspiring to think about how I can translate that when I go home.
Worst case, what you can do is that you can just do a piece of salpatu.
Of the salpatu, so you have the, I might actually do that, yeah. Okay, so I have the edges. Okay, thank you. So the main technique that we're focused on right now is, it started with the silhouette of a basic bucket bag, but the premise was to have a reinforced bottom of the bag and to learn how to do the feet, learn how to do proper inward structuring, and then learn how to do piping. So I came up with this idea to do a very simplified, minimalistic tote bag. So it started with the sketch, moved to my miniature paper model, and then went to this to help me wrap my mind around further shaping. Was my pattern correct? Did it translate well? And then from here, I go back to the original pattern, cut out all my leather, and start making the real thing. So for the lining of the bag, we have the option here to use like a lambskin leather, or we can use what's called eco leather, but I can't use a fake leather. So this is the color we're working with, and it'll be fine. It's just right. It's cool. I think above all, what I've learned here is the sculpting of a bag instead of just making it functional. Oh, crap. Can you see what that says? 1.5 what? 0.5? Going to school here, I'm like, I now have colleagues. I now have people who do what I do that are going to continue to do it in different parts of the world. Oh, you covered them. So cool. I have resources through people, but also really good friendships. So intense. So Russian of you. All right, when I say turn, turn. And now. Cute. To be around people who talk leather, think leather, talk bags, think bags, I've never had that before. And it was a little weird at first of like, are you real? So it's been really refreshing, really enjoyable to just talk shop. So frustrating. Come on, I'm trying to put the zipper head on. Struggling. Camila, why won't this work?
Huh?
Why won't this work? Can't get it on. It's the right size. Isn't that strange? It's like right there. Try it this way. Oh.
Oh.
Thanks. Okay. Did I need to subtly curve this?
Not necessarily,
Okay.
because the leather is raised.
Just want to make sure while it's still fresh.
Actually, a little is reversed.
What?
The zipper here is reversed, that's why it doesn't.
Oh. Oh, that's so annoying. Yeah, it is. All right. Well, I'm going to attach this. Maybe it'll make it even a little bit easier. Oh, that's so annoying. The teeth of the zipper, this is supposed to be going this way. And that mistake was made when we were attaching it to the head. We thought that, we just did it wrong. But it's already in there, so. I hate making mistakes, but I make them 16 times a day here. It's a yellow bag, it's a practice bag anyway. All of these techniques I've done maybe 3 times now, which is not enough to be excellent at it. But it's just frustrating when it's something that's so obvious. When I'm at home doing it, I don't even have to think about it. But here, it's like every single step has to be thought through, thought through, thought through. So mistakes are obviously bound to happen, and they should. It's just still annoying when it's what you should have known. So, like a zipper. It's fine. It's all gonna be fine. I need to attach the magnets. Those are getting sewn to the middle piece, pocket. Right? Because the front is smaller, remember? Because I cut this down.
Yes, but if I need to join this one needs to be the same length.
Let's look at it tomorrow, Ted. It's time to go home. Go away. Go away. Ciao. Yeah, that just needs to be cut, which is totally fine. It's just, why did I get that measurement wrong? Oh, this is fun. Florence has been absolutely incredible, but Florence has also been really hard. Mentally, emotionally, when I look at my past, my best friend passed away, and she was the one who was going to build the business with me. After that, my sister was killed, so I knew something was broken in me. And right before I left for this trip, one of the things that weighed on me was needing to know where I stood in that and how that made me feel thinking about that. So I've been processing as a person that, yeah, just releasing myself of a lot of shame and also being freed from the thought that what I do is who I am. And I'm seeing my past in a brand new way with CHC. CHC was undervaluing Megan's legacy, and that hurt. It was truth, and I needed to hear it, but it hurt. It is something that I need to recover. It's something that needs healing and reapproach. But if nothing else, it's an absolute redemptive part of my story. I'm excited. I really am excited for what's to come. I don't fully know what it's gonna look like, but I'm totally shaping it in a new way. sweating? I'm sweating.
Maybe those parts of here, and then you can do this. Okay. Because I think it has a tendency to.
Oh yeah.
This one.
We'll make it bend. Yeah. Oh wait. Let me do this the other way. I picked a more complicated. Seems so simple. I need to work on cleaning these up, yeah. I don't know if there's anything you can do at this point, but yeah.
The angle, like this angle there.
Yeah, for that to be cleaner. It's good to know now. I'd never done anything like that. Cool. Thanks.
Good job.
Thanks.
Good job.
Here, you try it on.
Also, perfect.
It's what?
A little short, I feel. Can you adjust much more?
I don't want it longer. No, because then it's like down here.
4 centimeters long.
No. Because then it would sit right here. I know, I want it.
Okay, okay.
I really like it. It's super clean, but it holds well. Overall, it turned out the way that I designed it, and so that makes me really happy. The main thing that didn't work out the way that I expected is the way that this strap lays. It's much more feminine with the shape that it gives it, and that wasn't what I was going for at all. But yeah, I'm happy that it actually turned out the way that it was in my head. So that's really cool to know. I love that there's no like specific seams, like it's just stripped down to just the basics. Absolutely love that. And that it holds its form really well. I'm happy with having learned how to do this inside zipper pocket. I've never done one of those before. This is one of the most complicated things I've ever made. And so finishing that and seeing like, oh, okay. I challenged myself on this one. I don't think I realized how much I was going to challenge myself, but I really like that. All done. Wow. That's so ridiculous right now. It's moving so quickly. That's insane. Dang. Are you seeing this? Ta-da! Wow. Ah, pink on the clouds. If there's anything I've learned from coming to watch these and being that I named a collection after them, I've learned I'm not a literal designer. For me, it's more a matter of this is absolutely ridiculous, but only a few people are actually going to see it. But does that take away from it being special? Not at all. It actually makes it even a little bit more, like the value of it and knowing that it's here and then it's gone. Even those kinds of things inspire like how I would go about what I do. Because this, I can't just like go home and not do anything about it. Oh yeah, I witnessed this, learned nothing, and then went home and did nothing. Like, wow. Italy obviously grew me as a craftsperson, but I didn't realize the way that it would grow me just as a person. And when I came back, I started to get the feeling of like, oh, something doesn't quite fit. And I thought I was just gonna be able to transform the business or transform the box, if you will, that I felt like I was in. But it just sort of dropped in me of like this chapter is concluding. And it was a bit of a shock because it wasn't something I was necessarily driving towards or thinking about or planning for. It wasn't like a bad day I was having. I reached out to Dave and he was definitely caught off guard, and it was like, well, yeah, welcome to the caught off guard party. Because it kind of felt like it came not out of nowhere, but a little bit. To feel so concluded so quickly it just felt much faster paced than I think I would have had in my imagination. I'm not fitting back into the box that was CHC. As an artist, as a creative, even as a business person, I took on the brand as my identity. And so wherever the business was is wherever my emotions were. And I think over this last couple of years that has been becoming undone. I am not CHC anymore. So it feels like that chapter is done, and now it's a matter of looking to how am I going to now grow and create a new space for me to be able to express what's in me to express in leather work and beyond.
You want a glass of wine?
I do.
How's packing up the studio and stuff going?
Fine. I slowly getting rid of all the big stuff. How do you feel now?
I'm feeling the tension of what's next. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I don't.
What are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
All of those things. I'm feeling that a lot. I'm grateful that you've had the opportunity. I'm grateful that you've been able to have this. I'm sad that it's coming to an end. That's the part that feels disappointing to me, is that I wanted to see this succeed for you.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
I wanted it for you.
I know.
I guess.
Drama.
This chunk's done.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too. I thought a lot of the healing had taken place, and I think I'm realizing there's gonna forever be healing. You can't lose someone who's that close to you and not forever grieve in some kind of way. Look at this cool thing I found.
Didn't know it was there.
I had no idea. I was laying on the floor the other day, and I was like, wait, what is that? I feel really grateful for healing, for having known her and witnessing her life. I feel grateful for the journey of these years, as arduous as they've been at times, for forgiveness and the freedom that it's brought, even while it's been a long journey, and it's a continuing journey. There's still waves that I get of missing her really, really hard. I'll have bouts of anger for sure. I'll have bouts of crying and frustration, but I know it has to end in a certain place. I have no desire to become a bitter, hard-hearted person, and it would be very easy to. But to me, it's more liberating to stay in a place of, a free and open heart, and to pray for somebody who you don't believe deserves it keeps your heart in that place. It's the only thing that I found that keeps my heart soft. So yeah, I pray for him. Absolutely. Renee helped shape the beginning portions of it. Megan helped cheer on who I am in it. I mean, part of CHC is existent because of her, you know, even though she was being an older sister at the moment of her telling me how to figure out how to make a bag back when I was in high school, like that sparked me having to figure out how to make a bag. So I'll always have that one fun little portion. And then celebrating her life and sharing her story, even with some of the women at Wings. I don't share it with everyone, but sometimes people ask, like, why are you here? Like, why domestic violence? You know, of all the things, of all the problems in the world, why that? So to even share her story feels like its own little celebration of who she was forever.
I'd like to now invite Shelley Look, which is Megan Henenberg's sister, to come to the stage to say a few words.
I was the quiet, shy one. She was the strong leader, so she would kind of push me forth, you know, just like go. So to have that from the beginning, it'll forever be a part of where it is now and where it's going to continue to go. Hello. As they mentioned, my name is Shelley Look, younger sister to Megan, the incredible woman of God being honored here tonight. Wings, I've been able to join in with you for several years now, and I cannot help but admire your readiness to roll up your sleeves and join in on the work of social justice. To be totally transparent, it feels like quite a high calling to be standing before you to speak about Megan. This is the type of role that she would naturally embody, and that I could sit back and introvertedly watch and admire. And quite frankly, it's a difficult thing to try and sum up such an amazing woman all in this small pocket of time with you, but I'll do my best to give you a taste. From the standpoint of a younger sister, Megan's legacy is more of a framework in my life that feels like it's built in. It's just sort of like now in my DNA. I've been shaped by her life. I've been shaped by her death. And so wherever I go and whatever I do, that's gonna play itself out. So that's kind of how I see the legacy of what I learned from her life, echoing, if you will, in mine.
She found a way to take that pain and that suffering and that hurt and turn it into something beautiful. I'm delighted when I see my kids way excel beyond anything I've done, and moves me to be a better me.
It makes our heart just burst, because she's just a light. That's how Shelly is. That's who she is. I'm in awe.
It was in October of 2007. I received a call, found out that Megan had been brutally murdered by her husband. For several years to follow, a myriad of questions lingered, awaiting an answer, a reason, something, anything to make sense of this mindless act. My brother-in-law was convicted and sent to prison for life. What a joyous moment, right? Justice has been served, right? Wrong. There's no joy, celebration, or justice in watching a man who is my brother-in-law be taken away in chains. In the time since then, we've been on a long journey of grief, anger, healing, and forgiveness. I've learned that forgiveness is not a justification, it's a releasing. My wishing of harm to him by way of revenge only perpetuates the cycle of violence because it starts in the heart. Forgiveness keeps the heart out of prison. Megan is in absolute freedom now, and I can say that I'm free from the prison of unforgiveness. And until I see her vibrant smile again in heaven, I will celebrate her short life, and I will live in and for the glory of the God that she loved. So in thinking back to Megan's favorite song, I leave you with these thoughts. How will you be remembered? Will you choose to love? What will your life point to? And what kind of legacy will you leave? I love you, Megan. Thank you all.
When I look at Shell's story, you can see the places of light and darkness. And there's obviously darkness around tragedy, there's darkness around things that have happened in our life, but there's also the light coming in and redeeming those moments. These things that we're talking about aren't as simple as a tragic moment and something good happening later. It's not a yin and a yang, but it is truly this story of redemption happening over time. If you have these tragic moments and you get through to the other side, it can no longer be dark.
Leather continues to be that medium that I'm drawn to, I'm fascinated by, I'm challenged by. My love for bags, even though I still don't enjoy carrying them, the fascination hasn't been removed. It will be the way of getting out what's going on in me forever. So I'll still be making them, just in a different and for a different reason now. I'm proud of how I've grown as a person, as a craftsperson. Proud of how I've grown as a business person. I'm very proud of what this company has been, what it's accomplished. I'm totally proud of CHC. I wouldn't say that closing CHC feels like a dusk to me. Right now it feels more a matter of like the pink in the sky. It's there for a moment, it's awesome, it's beautiful, and then all of a sudden it sort of phases itself out, but all these other colors are coming up. That's more so what I feel. I'm excited about who I am, more so than I've ever been. I'm excited about how creative I've seen myself be. You want to see more of what's in here, I promise. Like, there's way more. There's way more. I don't know what's coming next, but it feels like it's going to be awesome.